Hi everyone, I'm Suzi Dent, Mrs. Earth Australia 2017, Mrs. Earth International Ambassador, Mrs. Earth Health and Mrs. Role Model of the Year 2018. And you know what? Age is just a number. In society today, we're presented with the images of youth and vitality all around us in magazines and in movies, and there's a whole age bracket of people from say 45 to 65 or really around 50 and up who have kind of disappeared in society. For women especially, this is very prevalent. There's not much advertising that we see ourselves in and we see ourselves represented in. We see society as represented as the young and beautiful and then old and grey. There's not really much in between. And that's it can make us quite despondent when we don't see ourselves represented accurately and feel that when we're over 50 that we might be over the hill. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not true at all. Being over 50 is a fantastic place to be. At 58 now, I feel like I'm in the prime of my life. When you're in your 50s, we have so much knowledge to give people. We have so much knowledge and life experience to share with the younger generation. It's just great. And it's in our 50s that we can also make changes in our life and overcome some of the things that have been holding us back from achieving our full potential in what we're doing on our journey and the path that we're on. This happened for me 3 years ago in 2017. I was sent a message by life, and I'm a big believer in paying attention to the messages life sends us. We all get them. Sometimes they're just little niggles and sometimes they're big slaps, so we really have to pay attention to them. And we're sent these messages to make changes in the path that we're on. And if we pay attention to these messages and say yes to the opportunities that have been given us, then great things can happen and great change can happen in our lives and in our relationships and in our world. 3 years ago, in 2017, I changed my life and I transformed my whole self. I'd been with my husband for 26 years at the time. We'd gone through a lot of struggles being both self-employed. My husband, unfortunately, due to life experiences and his mother committing suicide, his brother dying, we lost many family members to death. He succumbed to depression and anxiety and found it very difficult to get up in the morning and go through life because life was really getting him down. As many of you know, it's a very hard thing when you can't get out of bed and you are depressed. It's very hard when you're the breadwinner of the family to push yourself forward every day to support your family. And my husband he was angry at himself and he was not in a good place in his life. And as we know, we always take things out against those who we love the most because they're the closest to us. So our family had become quite a toxic environment to be in. My husband, after we were in year 6, he wasn't listening to anything that I had to say to him. And life wasn't much fun, actually. It was very sad and it was filled with tears and anger. I realised at this place in my life that I had to make a decision. I had to make a choice. I had to change me. I couldn't change my husband, and nor should I. I tried all I could. I couldn't really support him anymore because he had to really look inward and make changes in himself. And I realised at that point in my life, if I wanted to change my life, then I had to make a decision and a choice to do just that. So I started listening to motivational people on my daily walk. And I realised and I learned that to make change in our lives, you actually have to make yourself really uncomfortable. Which I understood at the time, but I didn't quite understand. So I have learned since then that that's very true. When we learn and grow, we don't learn and grow from the easy things in life. We learn and grow from the difficulties and how we perceive ourselves in those difficulties and how we cope with what we're given. So back to 2017. All right, so I put it out to life that what I wanted to do was be in front of the camera for a change instead of behind the camera. For in my career, I'm a film and television hair and makeup artist, and I have been for 37 years. So I spend my life, and I have done, building the self-esteem of women with my words and my brushes. I also do special effects as well, so I do ugly as well as pretty. So I decided I wanted to try that for a change. It wouldn't be too much for my husband to cope with, and I'd still be in the same industry. 2 weeks later, after I put that wish out to the universe of what I wanted to do and my intention for my next life path, I got a call from this woman from the Mrs. Earth Australia quest. It's a beauty quest, and she said to me, we think you'd be really good fit in the Mrs. Earth Australia competition. Well, after I picked myself up off the floor laughing because I couldn't believe it, I certainly wasn't beauty queen material because I never wore dresses at all. I wore shorts and t-shirt all the time and dressed my body down and covered myself up all the time. I actually had a fear of wearing dresses. And the other thing was, at the time, I was 55. So I got back to her and thanked her so much for making my month. And she told me that older women do this. And I stopped and had a think for a moment, and I realised that I was being given a sign by life. I was being given an opportunity to say yes to something that was very much outside my comfort zone, something that I'd never dreamt of doing, and that I really had to take stock of myself and say yes. So I looked them up and I checked out the charity that they supported, which was one called Souls for Souls. And Souls for Souls collects new and used shoes for people to distribute to countries overseas where people have none. And I was really affiliated with secondhand shoes and doing that. And I had a great marketing idea. And so I said yes. So I jumped on board with great gusto. I believed at the time that the cutoff age was 56. So I knew that this had to be my year. I researched pageantry, and I jumped in and learnt all about it and what you had to do. I taught myself how to wear high heel shoes, which at that time were only little, because working in studios my whole life, I've always worn shorts and t-shirts or jeans, because you're outside in the elements a lot of the time, working on films and in TV shows. I also dressed down a lot when I was young. I had a mother who was very jealous of me when I was young, and I learnt that if I covered my body up and covered my legs and everything, that I actually had a better relationship with my mother. And she had, I just had a better relationship with my mother. It didn't seem to be so hard for her to be around me. And I know that there's a lot of women out there like me that have women or in their lives, their mothers or sometimes their grandmothers, that are quite controlling of who they are and who they become. And we tend to, we dress down or we hide who we really are to make others feel happy in our presence. And as I've got older, I've realised that's a bad thing. It's not good to not let your light shine, ladies. It's really not. And as we get older, we find that out and we realise that. And it's about loving yourself and letting yourself be the person that you're actually supposed to be. So in the pageant, I had to get my first gown made. And having never worn anything sleeveless or any dresses, I actually had a bit of a fear of wearing a dress. I felt very uncomfortable in dresses. I felt very uncomfortable in anything fitted, so much so that I couldn't leave the house. I had a real self-esteem problem. And the thing is I was born with bucket loads of confidence, but my self-esteem had whittled down over the years, so much so that I really couldn't even leave the house wearing something that I wasn't comfortable in wearing. And I know that happens to a lot of us as well. We all have self-esteem issues. And the thing about self-esteem and confidence is they're two entirely different things. You can fake having confidence, right? But you can't fake having no self-esteem. So I had a journey ahead of me. I had to build my self-esteem. And I like to say I built my self-esteem one frock at the time, because I wasn't doing this journey for me. I was doing it for the charity, which was great. So it gave me an excuse to do it for someone else. My husband was right on board, and he was really inspired by what I was doing. And it was very exciting. And I went to another state and I won the competition against 16 other women in a gown section and an interview section and another dress section on a stage. And I became the first Mrs. Earth Australia, the oldest competitor in the pageant at 55 years young. 3 months later, I found myself in Vegas representing Australia with 36 other women from around the world who had all competed in their states to win at their level to represent their countries. And it was the third biggest pageant system in the world. So I hadn't gone into anything dinky. I was there as the second oldest competitor. My age was not an issue. By then I had practiced walking on really high heel shoes, because when you go from one competition to international, you have to dress the part. I had gowns made and bought. I tried them on and I wore them, and I got over my fear of my frocks. I did a lot of public speaking on the way, talking to people about the charity and to schools and to public organisations. I got out there and learned public speaking and really practiced the art of it. Being in Vegas, it was an amazing experience. I hadn't been there before. My husband cashed in his super, which is superannuation, so that we could afford for me to fly business class, which was awesome because I'd never done that before. And I hadn't been overseas in 30 years. So it was quite the exciting experience and adventure that I was having. Whilst there, we were there for a week. I had a great time. I competed in all the levels that we had to compete in. And I was crowned third runner-up in the world from 36 women, half of whom I could have given birth to. My age wasn't an issue. They had a bikini part, a swimsuit part, and there was no way that I was going to do that. So my husband and I came up with this idea for a Bond girl-inspired scuba suit. So it had a collar, and it had a zipper, and it had sleeves, and it had little legs. So there was nothing, no cleavage or anything flashing. So it was really quite modest. I strapped a dive knife to my arm and a dive knife to my leg, one on my belt. And I walked out on the stage and went, rah! And I scored 3 10s and a 9.5 from the judges and changed the whole swimsuit section for that pageant. So it's amazing what you can do when age is not a number and you're not letting it hold you back. I came home as third runner-up, and I think I did more with third runner-up than first place did, which was amazing. I've been on several morning TV shows. My story, Tomboy to Beauty Queen at 55, has gone all around the world, which is amazing. I've inspired other women to not look at their age numbers and to not hold themselves back, because you know what, if I can do it at 55 and I'm not a beauty queen, well, no, I am now. I'm not a model and I'm nobody special, and I'm not a size 0 or anything like that, and I don't have Botox in my face. I'm just normal, just like you. I took myself out of my comfort zone and I achieved something that was really special for me, and I built my self-esteem. And what I did find is I found my true authentic self along the way. And by leading by example, I've helped my husband heal. I've helped my son heal. And that's what we need to do. We are leaders. We have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of things that we can share. We just have the bravery to not think that we're too old to do it, but to embrace that part of ourselves and go for it. Since then, since saying yes to the opportunity that life gave me, so many doors have opened to me. The doors of motivational speaking. I've been to India last April in 2019. It was amazing at the Women's Economic Forum to be there with 2,000 women from around the world talking about the Me Too movement and women's empowerment. I have so much that I wish to share with you all, and I hope you've enjoyed my transformational story today. And next time you let somebody else tell you that you're too old and that you can't do something, or you listen to the generational mindset that you might be a bit too old, or your grandmother or someone in your family tells you, oh, you can't do that, you're too old. If you're physically and mentally able, why don't you give it a go? Because you never know what doors are going to be open to you. Thank you so much. I'm Suzi Dent. Have a joyous day.